Hey, it's Rob from Recent Prep. One of the most common requests I get is for a study plan for the SAT or the ACT. What's the best way to spend my time so that I make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to get the scores that I'm looking to get? What should I do? What should I study? How long should I study? How often should I study? Is X number of hours enough for a certain score? So what I want to do in this series of videos, in the articles I'm writing, and in a guide that you'll be able to download, I'll tell you more about in a second, is give you a breakdown as to how exactly you should spend your time, the best practices for your SAT and ACT studying, so that you know when you sit down to study that you're moving forward towards your goal, whatever it may be. In this first video, I want to talk about tips. This is one of the most common emails and comments on YouTube or comments on my site that I get. And it goes something like this, some species of the following. It's something like, I want to get this score on the SAT or the ACT. Do you have any tips? Or do you have any advice? And I have to admit, this is a very frustrating question for me to get, simply because I don't have a good answer for it. It's so broad. I don't know anything about your background. I don't know what you studied. I don't know what scores you've gotten. Even if you tell me what scores you got, I don't really know what they mean without breaking them down further. I don't know what studying you've done so far, what your goals are, what your strengths are, your weaknesses. So it's an impossible question for me to answer. And whole books and video courses and classes are based on answering this question. What are some approaches to, what are some tips to do better on whether it's the SAT or the ACT? Now, I understand the impulse to ask this kind of question. I've asked this question before when I'm learning new things, right? We want the quick, easy, direct, painless ways of getting to where we want to go with our SAT or ACT goals or whatever it is you're trying to learn. We want the secrets. We want the stuff. And a lot of times, marketing of books and courses and the like is going to be geared towards playing towards that idea. And there's some truth to it. There are tips and strategies and approaches that you can use to do well on these tests. But here's the thing. Tips can only get you so far. What tips are really good at doing is maximizing where you're at in your current scoring range. So let's say we're talking about the ACT, let's say you're scoring a 24 composite. Maybe you are actually capable at that moment of getting a 27 composite based on your skills, your knowledge, what you've done in school. So tips may help you maximize your current ability level. They may help you clear away inefficiencies, understand the test better, know the best ways to approach certain questions, to improve on certain questions, to exploit the test weaknesses. And they may indeed help you get a point or two or three. In the case of the SAT, you might get 40 points or 50 points or 100 points, who knows? But here's the thing. Tips eventually run out. There's a limit to how far tips can get you to go. They can maximize the potential you do have, but if you want to get beyond that potential, if you want to get into the truly stratospheric levels of scoring, whatever that might be in your situation, more than tips are going to be required. So beyond tips, what do we need when we want to get beyond our current level? And what's needed is a deeper engagement with whatever it is we're trying to do. So we need to learn skills. We need to learn knowledge. We need to learn concepts. We need to really dig in and figure out what are the skills that I'm lacking, what is the knowledge that I'm lacking, and what do I need to do to improve that. It's this kind of approach that will get you past that plateau, will get you past the point of wherever your natural ability may put you at. So tips may get you from a 24 to a 27, but when you hit that wall and you want to go from a 27 to a 30 or even higher, more is required. If it's the SAT and you're stuck at a 1200, you want to get to 1400, then more than just simple tips are required. Let me take reading, for example, because I think this is one of the most common questions I get, whether it's SAT or ACT, because reading is typically one of the harder sections of those tests. So the question I get is like, I got a 24 in reading, or I got a 550 in reading, and I want to improve. I want to get a 650 or whatever it may be. Do you have any tips? And if you think about reading as an activity, it's something that you've done for your entire life or your entire academic life, right? Since whenever you started reading till now, 10 years, maybe longer. So it's unlikely that a few tips are going to get you to go much beyond your current level up to a certain point, past that plateau, because it's such a deep skill-based activity that I can't really give you tips to improve something that's really a skill, right? It'd be like me saying, I want to learn how to speak French. I don't know any French, but do you have tips on how to speak French? It's kind of a ridiculous question, right? And the same thing to some extent goes with reading, right? We all have a certain ability in reading that we've built up over many years, and certainly tips and strategies and tactics can absolutely help maximize whatever skills you do have. But eventually we're going to hit a wall. So we have to go deeper into that ability. We need to understand whether it's the SAT or the ACT, how to read effectively for that test, what exactly to look for, and how to decode and comprehend the actual texts so that we can then find answers to questions. So there are plenty of tips and tricks out there. My courses go through various strategies and ways to approach the material. But what I also stress is that deeper engagement with whatever skill or thing you're trying to learn. So what I'm developing now is a guide to how to design a study program for whether it's the SAT or the ACT that gets beyond just tips and tricks and actually into the nitty-gritty of understanding how you do these skills, whether it's reading or math or writing, whatever it may be. Because here's the thing, the good thing about this process is that whatever you learn about how to read, how to write, how to break down sentences, how to do math problems, how to think scientifically, whatever you take from that can actually be used later in your life. So this is not a complete waste of time if you approach it beyond just looking at tips and tricks and focus instead on those abilities that underlie what you're trying to do. So this guide that I am creating is called the Ultimate SAT and ACT Study Plan. And basically, if you click in the description and the link below, you'll get a bunch of information on how to design your study plan, what to do, when to do it, how to do it, best resources to use, basically how to spend your time so that you make sure you get beyond the tips and tricks into a real deep engagement with the material. So that information is in the link below, as well as information on how to get your free copy of this guide and these materials. So let me know if you have any questions or comments. Please feel free to comment below. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, all that good standard stuff. And I hope to talk to you all soon.